It is one of the most strange coincidence that Gautam Buddha and Mahavira both revolted against the knowledgeable, the learned, the scholarly, the Brahmins, the Pandits, for a singular reason, that by being knowledgeable, you simply cover up your ignorance. It is not dispelled out of your being. It is just like in a dark night, and you don't have even a lamp in your house. You may have as much information about light as you like, but your information about light is not going to bring light in the house. The house will remain dark. But one thing is possible. Your information may create a delusion for you. You may become so engaged in the information about light that you forget about darkness. But darkness is there. Whether you forget it or not makes no difference. In fact, it is better to know that the darkness is there and something has to be done to create light, to destroy darkness. Knowing about light is of no help. Real light is needed. The strange coincidence is that both Gautam Buddha and Mahavira were surrounded by the Brahmin scholars, and all that they have said has been compiled by the same people against whom they have been speaking their whole life. Mahavira had 11 intimate disciples. They were all Brahmin scholars of great integrity, of great learning, of great knowledge, but their ignorance was just the same as anybody else. Ignorance can decorate itself by knowledge, but that only hides it. It does not destroy it. One has to discover one's own light, one's own being, one's own self-nature. The moment one discovers one's inner being, all darkness starts disappearing. Because at the very center of your being is nothing but pure light. But it has to be discovered. The people who are interested in knowledge are interested in scriptures, are interested in learning from other wise men, but they are not doing anything to reach to their own light, to the very source of enlightenment. The same happened with Gautam Buddha. His closest disciples were Brahmins. And hence, a great misunderstanding has arisen in their reporting. What they have reported about Gautam Buddha is mixed, polluted, corrupted by their own knowledgeability, by their own learning. Their mind has come in and interfered with the message that was given in silence. A message that was transmitted heart to heart, being to being, but not from mind to mind. The same unfortunate situation has happened with Bodhidharma. Even on a far greater scale, because Bodhidharma was born in India, but he was teaching in China. The people who surrounded him, who became interested in him, were the people who were interested in knowledge. And certainly, he had the golden key that opens all the mysteries of life. His each word comes from an authentic experience. He attracted thousands of monks. But the problem is, those were the people who crammed his words and forgot the phenomenal presence of Bodhidharma. And they have written these sutras. Naturally, there are great mistakes, but even though there are many stones, there are few diamonds, and we can find out those diamonds. Even though they were not able to experience the same as Bodhidharma, but they were certainly impressed by his charismatic being. Just like moths come to the flame of a candle, they came from far away provinces in China just to sit in his speech. But it is not enough. It is a good beginning, but it is not the end of the journey. They could not forget their own minds. Even while listening to him, they were still thinking their own thoughts. They were still comparing whether it fits with their ideology or not. They were interpreting, giving new meanings, new colors to his words. And because Bodhidharma has not written anything, no enlightened being has written anything. For the simple reason that the written word is a dead word. A spoken word has the warmth, the splendor, and the presence of the Master. The spoken word is a totally different category than the written word. The written word is only a corpse. The spoken word is alive. It is still breathing. It has a heartbeat which the written word cannot have. That's why no enlightened man around the world in any age has ever written anything. So you have to be very aware. I will point out where the mind of the disciples who are collecting these sutras has interfered and destroyed something immensely beautiful. But even though they could not report exactly what Bodhidharma was saying, here and there, perhaps by mistake, they have reported the actual words. Even to find those few actual words spoken by Bodhidharma and give them again a heartbeat is a great joy. My commentary is not just a commentary, it is giving life, a resurrection to those beautiful words who have fallen in wrong hands. They have to be relieved and released from this confused, imprisoned, corpse-like existence. The sutras. The Buddha said, people are deluded. This is why when they act, they fall into the river of endless rebirth, and trying to get out, they only sink deeper. And all because they don't see their nature. If people were not deluded, why else would they ask about something right in front of them? Not one of them understands the movement of his own hands and feet. The Buddha was not mistaken. Deluded people don't know who they are. The first thing to be understood, these are actual words of Bodhidharma. No interference from the people who have been collecting these words. The emphasis in these sutras is that people are deluded. What is their delusion? Their delusion is that they don't know who they are. Because they don't know who they are, they create false personalities around themselves. Because it is impossible to live knowing that you don't know who you are, you will go certainly mad. Just think for a moment. If you are aware that you don't know who you are, it will be such a shock, such a shattering of all your identity, you cannot live without knowing yourself who you are. And if you cannot know, then you have to create something. Although it will be a false substitute, but it will take away the maddening situation of not knowing oneself. Ask somebody who he is. He will say he is a doctor, he is an engineer, he is a professor, he is a Christian, he is a Hindu, he is a Buddhist. These are false identities. These are creating around yourself a false layer to forget the maddening situation that you don't know yourself. You are getting identified with 1,001 things. You are a husband, you are a wife, but these are not your nature. You were not born as a husband, and you were not born as an engineer, and you were not born as a doctor or a professor. These are created by you and by the society so that you don't feel continuously in an emptiness which can be dangerous and can create an insanity in you. And people are not satisfied. They go on making the false layer thicker and thicker. They become members of political parties. They become members of religions. They become members of Rotary Club, Line Club. They go on creating some idea who they are. This is needed just to keep you in your normal insanity. One has to face oneself in utter nudity, without all these clothes that you have covered upon yourself. This is the delusion, that everybody is living a life which is not coming out of his self-nature, which is more like an acting than like an authentic living. Just watch yourself and you will see the great insight in the very significant and meaningful statement, people are deluded. That's why their actions always go into wrong directions. That's why they live a life of misery, suffering, agony, anguish. When Bodhidharma says that these people go on falling into darkness, he is saying that they go on becoming more and more deluded. They have to make the layer of their delusion as thick as possible, so they can remain unaware of their reality. And out of this false layer, their love becomes false, their friendship becomes false, their whole life becomes just a drama. They are doing everything, but it is not coming from their spontaneity. It is not coming from their individuality. It is not coming from their very being. Hence they are always wishy-washy. They are always hesitant. They are always asking what is right and what is wrong. They are always asking questions about everything. The man who knows himself has no questions to ask. The man who knows himself knows exactly what has to be done. and there is no question of choosing. Whatever he does is right. Out of your self-nature, only right arises. Just as out of a real rose bush, only authentic roses arise. It is a natural phenomenon. I used to live for a few months in Raipur, and just by my side lived a retired professor of mathematics. I used to see him from my windows. He had a beautiful pot with beautiful flowers, and every day he used to bring water to shower on the pot. But I was surprised. The first day there was no problem, but as days passed, I was surprised that those flowers go on being the same. Their petals don't fall, they don't disappear, as is the natural way of life, that the old disappears to give place for the new. Finally, I could not resist my temptation. I went close to his window and I was surprised. Those were not real flowers. They were plastic flowers. But to keep the illusion in the neighborhood that they are real, he was watering them. I knocked on the door and asked the old man that, what are you doing? These flowers don't need watering. He said, I know it also, but the whole neighborhood does not know about it. I have to water just to keep the appearances. Your false personality is just a plastic flower. It cannot give you fulfillment, it cannot give you enlightenment, it cannot give you liberation from misery, it cannot take you from your agony into an ecstatic experience, it cannot take you away from darkness into light, from death into immortality. This is the delusion. Something so hard to fathom is known by Buddha and no one else. Remember by Buddha is not meant any personal name. Buddha simply means the awakened one. Anyone who becomes awakened, enlightened, is the Buddha. You are also the Buddha. The only difference is that you are not aware of it. You have never looked inside yourself and found the Buddha there. Your very life source is nothing but enlightenment. Bodhidharma is saying something so hard to fathom is known by Buddha and no one else. You will know only that you are deluded if you enter yourself and find your authentic individuality. Then there will be a comparison. The man who has never seen the real roses may remain with the plastic flowers his whole life, believing that these are the real roses. To wake him up, you have to bring real roses so that he can compare and he can see the difference. The plastic flowers are dead. They don't have any fragrance. They have not grown up. They will not die. The real flower is fragile. With the morning it comes into existence, dances in the rain, in the wind, in the sun, and by the evening it is gone. It comes from the unknown and moves back into the unknown. The same is the situation of our human life. We come from the unknown and we go on moving into the unknown. We will come again. We have been here thousands of times and we will be here thousands of times. Our essential being is immortal, but our body, our embodiment is mortal. Our frame in which we are, our houses, the body, the mind, they are made of material things. They will get tired, they will become old, they will die, but your consciousness, for which Bodhidharma uses the word no mind. Gautam Buddha has also used the word no mind. Something beyond body and mind, something beyond everything. That no mind is eternal. It comes into expression and goes again into the unknown. This movement from the unknown to the known and from the known to the unknown continues for eternity unless somebody becomes enlightened. Then that is his last life. Then this flower will not come back again. Now this flower that has become aware of himself need not come back to life, because life is nothing but a school to learn. He has learned the lesson. He is now beyond delusions. He will move from the known for the first time, not in the unknown, but in the unknowable. If from known you move to the unknown, you will be born again. But if you move from the known to the unknowable, to the mystery of existence, you become one with the universe. There is no coming back. Only the wise know this. This no mind, this no mind called dharma nature, this no mind called liberation. Here, the person who has taken these notes has missed the point. Instead of saying no mind, he says mind. Mind is not your ultimate reality. He has not understood Bodhidharma. And it is a great sin to misrepresent a man of enlightenment, because for centuries people will be confused. Neither life nor death can restrain this no mind. Nothing can. It is also called the unstoppable, Tathagata, the incomprehensible, the sacred self, the immortal, the great sage. And the person who has taken these notes is not even intelligent enough to see the point that mind cannot be called Tathagata. Mind cannot be called the incomprehensible. The mind cannot be called the sacred self, the immortal, the great sage. The mind is very ordinary, mundane. It is useful for day-to-day work. Its function is in the outside world. In the inner world, it is absolutely useless. Those who want to know their inner being have to go beyond mind. They have to leave the mind behind. That is the whole process of meditation. One word, Tathagata, has to be understood. The translator could not find any word to translate it. Perhaps he could not even understand the meaning of the word. Because in the West and in Western languages, no parallel word exists. Tathagata is specifically a Buddhist term. Gautam Buddha preached the philosophy of Tathata, and Tathata means very close to the word Suchness. Whatever happens, Buddha says, such is the nature of things. There is no need to be happy. There is no need to be miserable. There is no need to be affected at all by anything that happens. Birth happens, death happens, but you have to remain in a suchness, remembering that this is how life functions. This is the way of life. You cannot do anything against it. Just as rivers move towards the ocean, that is their suchness. Just as fire is hot, that is its suchness. Suchness is our self-nature. So whatever happens, somebody comes and insults Gautam Buddha, abuses him, he listens silently. And when asked by his disciples, when the man has gone, that why you remain silent, Buddha said, that was his suchness, that was his way of behaving, it was my suchness to remain silent. I am not holier than that man, I am not higher than that man, just our suchness is different, our natures differ. The word Tathata is of great profundity. A man who understands what Tathata is becomes undisturbed in every situation. Nothing can disturb him, he becomes unperturbable. And Tathagat means one who has been living moment to moment in Tathata. Tathagat is one of the most beautiful words in any language possible. One who lives simply according to his nature, without being bothered about other people's nature. Gautam Buddha used to say that once I was passing through a forest and a branch of a tree fell over me. What do you think? Should I beat that branch of tree because it has hurt me. It has wounded me. The person to whom he was talking said, there is no question of beating the branch. It has no desire to hurt you. It has no desire to fall on you. It was just a natural accident that you happened to be under the tree and the branch fell. Buddha said, if somebody insults me, that is also the same. I simply happened there, and that man was full of anger. If I was not there, he would have been angry with somebody else. It was his nature. He was following his nature. I followed my nature. And to be in tune with your nature, you become certainly impenetrable, unperturbable. You become so crystallized in yourself that nothing can disturb you. Its names vary, but not its essence. Buddhas vary too, but none leaves his no mind. This is a significant statement to be understood. Buddhas vary too. Each awakened person has a uniqueness of his own. This has created great misunderstandings in people, because Christ does not behave like Gautam Buddha. Mahavira does not behave like Gautam Buddha. Krishna does not behave like Gautam Buddha. Even Bodhidharma, a disciple of Gautam Buddha, does not behave like Gautam Buddha. This has created a great confusion in the world. People think these people all cannot be right. Buddhists think only Gautam Buddha is right. Christ cannot be right. The misunderstanding arises because they think every Buddha down the ages is going to be the same. In existence, nothing is the same. Every person has his own uniqueness, and when he becomes enlightened, his uniqueness becomes even more unique. He becomes a Himalayan peak like Gauri Shankar, standing aloof, alone, reaching to the stars. It is not like any other peak in the Himalayas or in any other mountain. It is just itself. That's why I have been speaking on so many awakened people. This has been done for the first time in the whole history of man. Hindus have been speaking on Krishna, on Rama. Buddhists have been speaking on Buddha, Bodhidharma. Christians have been speaking on Christ, Saint Francis, Mr. Ekahar. Mohammedans have been speaking about Muhammad. Sufis have been speaking about Jalaluddin Rumi, Sarmad, Al-Hillas Mansur, but nobody has dared to bring all the enlightened people together. My whole effort has been to make it clear to the world that all enlightened people, howsoever different in their behavior, howsoever different in their philosophies, howsoever different in their actions, howsoever different in their individualities, still have the same taste, still have the same no mind. Their innermost core is the same. It is the same light. Don't go to the shape of the candle. The candle can have any kind of shape, but the flame in every candle of different shapes, different sizes, different colors is the same. Those who know the flame don't bother about the candles and their shapes and their sizes and their colors. What is important is not the candle. What is important is the flame. No mind is the flame of every awakened being. He functions out of his self-nature, not out of his mind. The no-mind's capacity is limitless, and its manifestations are inexhaustible. Seeing forms with your eyes, hearing sounds with your ears, tasting flavors with your tongue, every movement or mode, it's all your no mind. At every moment where language can't go, that is your no mind. But the reporter of Bodhidharma's sayings goes on saying it is your mind. Now it is so stupid, so illogical, so irrational that one cannot conceive. What kind of disciple was this who could not see a simple contradiction? Language can't go to the mind. Language belongs to the mind. There is no need to go. Language cannot go to the no mind, to the silence beyond thoughts. Mind is full of thoughts, and all thoughts are in the form of language. The sutras say a Tathagata's forms are endless, and so is his awareness. because not understanding that the forms of Tathagatas, of the Buddhas, of the people of awakening are endless. Religions have been fighting on trivia. For example, Jainas don't accept Gautam Buddha as enlightened. For a simple reason, because they accept Mahavira as enlightened, and Mahavira lived naked, and Gautam Buddha does not live naked. Just the clothes. Because Buddha uses clothes, he is not yet enlightened. Mahavira lives naked, he is enlightened. And the same is the situation with Buddhist scholars. They don't accept Mahavira as enlightened because he lives naked. But nobody is ready to accept the varieties. They want Buddhas almost to be produced like cars on an assembly line. Every car looks the same. In the factories of Ford, every minute one Ford car comes out of the assembly line, and you cannot make any distinction between one Ford and the other. In 1 hour, 60 Ford cars will come out, and they will be all similar. A Buddha is not a machine. Machines can be similar. Even people who are not enlightened are not similar. Here 5,000 people are there. You cannot find 2 persons similar. Even twins are not exactly similar. Their mothers recognize them. And slowly their friends start recognizing them. Although they look almost similar, but it is almost. There are slight differences even in twins. And these Buddhas are not twins. Christ has his own flavor. Mahavira has his own beauty. Buddha has his own splendor. I want it to be impressed in you as deep as possible that all over the world, in different ages, in different races, enlightened people have existed. And it is time that this should be recognized, belonging to the same category, although protecting their uniqueness. They have a certain oneness, but that is their innermost core. On the periphery, they are as unique as you can conceive. And it is beautiful. having all the Buddhas like Jesus Christ, carrying everybody his cross on his shoulder, the world will be very poor. Wherever you go, you meet a Jesus Christ carrying or if all the enlightened people lived naked like Mahavira, that will not be enriching the world. Mahavira alone is perfectly good. He has his uniqueness, his beauty, his grandeur, and he is incomparable. And every enlightened being is incomparable. He is unparalleled by anybody else. This is how things should be. The world should not have only roses. It should have all kinds of flowers, and it should have all kinds of fragrances. Then only existence becomes richer. Its ability to distinguish things, whatever their movement or mode, is the no-mind's awareness. But the no-mind has no form, and its awareness no limit. Hence it is said, a Tathagata's forms are endless, and so is his awareness. A material body of the four elements is trouble. A material body is subject to birth and death. But the real body, the real being, exists without existing, because a Tathagata's real body never changes. Within your so-called body, there is an inner being, an inner body, the body of your awareness, the body of your flame of consciousness that never changes. The sutras say people should realize that the Buddha nature is something they have always had. This is one of the most important emphasis of Bodhidharma. That you all have, every human being has the same space within him, the same no mind, and the same potential to blossom into a unique flowering. Nobody is poor and nobody is rich as far as the inner being is concerned. You always had it. Even this very moment you are all Buddhas. But you have never looked into yourself. you have never discovered it. Remember, Buddhahood, enlightenment, awakening, liberation, moksha, nirvana, all these words mean the same thing. When you become enlightened, the first thing is to have a good laugh about yourself. And the second thing is to have a good hot cup of tea. A good laugh because you have been searching for something which you always had within you. And a cup of tea, you are so tired. Ages of search and seeking and finding nothing. And the problem was you could have gone searching for ages and you would not have found, because the searcher is himself your search. What you are trying to find outside in the world, you are not going to find it, because the searcher himself is the sought. Once you discover yourself, you will be simply amazed that I have always been enlightened, just I was not aware of it. As if you had a diamond, a Kohinoor in your pocket, and you were begging all your life. Not knowing that in your pocket you are having the most precious diamond in the world. The day you discover it, you are bound to be surprised that life has played a great joke with you. Mahakashyapa only realized his own nature. That story has to be reminded to you. Because Bodhidharma is not the founder of the Zen. The real founder is Mahakashyapa. But because he never spoke, people have always forgotten him. He has fallen into shadows. But he was tremendously a beautiful man. A man of immense grace. And how he became the founder of Zen is something to be remembered. One day, a poor man in Vaishali, he was a shoemaker, found in his pond a lotus flower out of season, he was very happy that he can sell it for good price because this is not the season, and a beautiful lotus flower. He took the flower, and as he was going towards the palace, he saw the richest man of the city coming in his golden chariot towards him. Seeing the beautiful lotus flower, the super rich man stopped the chariot and asked Sudas, how much you will take for your untimely lotus flower? Poor Sudas could not conceive how much. He said, whatever you can give will be enough for me. I am a poor man. The rich man said, perhaps you don't know, I am going to see Gautam Buddha, who is staying outside the city in a mango grove. And I would like this untimely lotus flower to put in his feet. Even he will be surprised with such a gift. I will give you 500 gold coins. Sudas could not believe. He had never dreamt that he will ever have 500 gold coins. But just then the king's chariot stopped, and he said to Sudas that whatever that rich man is giving you, I will give you 4 times more. Don't sell it, wait. Sudas could not believe what is happening. 500 gold coins, 4 times 2,000 gold coins for a single flower. He asked the king that I don't understand what is the reason why you are so interested. And the rich man was not to be defeated so easily. He was richer than the king. In fact, the king owed much money to him. He said, it is not right of you, although you are the king, but right now we are the competitors. I will give 4 times than what the king is giving. And this way they went on 4 times, and Sudas lost the track. How much money? The poor man does not know much arithmetic either. It was going beyond his capacity to count. But one thing suddenly he understood. And he stopped both the men. He said, wait, I am not going to sell it. They both were shocked. They said, what is the problem? Do you want more? He said, I don't know how much the price has gone. And I don't want more. I simply don't want to sell for the simple reason because you both are going to give it to Gautam Buddha. I don't know anything about him. I have just heard his name. If the man is such that you are fighting to give any kind of money, then I will not miss the chance. I will present the lotus flower to Gautam Buddha. Let him be doubly surprised. From a poor man who was being offered unaccountable money, but he refused. Sudas went. The king and the Superman has reached before, and this had already told the story that we have been socked by a shoemaker. We have been defeated. He has refused to sell it at any price. I was ready to offer him my whole treasury. And then Sudas, walking, touched Gautam Buddha's feet and offered his flower in his feet. Gautam Buddha said, Sudas, you should have accepted. They were giving you too much money. I cannot give you anything. There were tears in the eyes of Sudas, and he said, if you can just hold in your hand my flower, it is enough. It is far greater than the whole kingdom. It is far greater than the super rich man's whole treasury. I am poor, but I am perfectly okay. I earn my livelihood. There is no need for me to be rich. But it will be a historical event remembered for centuries and centuries. As long as man remembers you, Sudas will be remembered, and his flower will be remembered. Just you take it in your hand. And Buddha took the flower in his hand, and this was the time in the morning when he used to give his morning sermon. And everybody was waiting that now he will start his morning sermon. But rather than starting the morning sermon, he simply went on looking at the lotus flower. Minutes passed. 1 hour passed. People started becoming restless that what has happened? This flower seems to be something magical. That he is simply looking at the flower. At that moment, Mahakashyap, one of the disciples of Gautam Buddha, who has never spoken and who is not mentioned before this or after this again in any scripture, laughed. And Gautam Buddha called Mahakashyapa and gave the flower to him. And he said, It is not only the flower that I am giving to you, I am transmitting to you my whole light, my whole fragrance, my whole awakening. It is a transmission in silence. This flower is only symbolic. This is the beginning of Zen. People asked Mahakashyap, what happened? Although we were present and we were eyewitnesses, but we could not see except the flower being given to you. And you touched the feet of Gautam Buddha and went back to your seat again and closed your eyes. What has happened? Mahakashyapa is reported to have said only one thing. You ask my master, when he is alive, I have no right to answer. And Gautam Buddha said that this is a new beginning of transferring without words your whole experience. Just one has to be receptive. And Mahakashyapa, by his laughter, showed his receptivity. You don't know why he laughed. He laughed because in that moment he suddenly looked into himself and he found that he is also a Buddha. And I offered the flower as a recognition that I accept your awakening. This man Mahakashyapa was the founder of Zen, or this situation between Mahakashyapa and Gautam Buddha is the beginning of the river of Zen. But Bodhidharma was such a strong individual that he has almost become the founder, although he came 1,000 years later than Mahakashyapa. But he is immensely articulate. He can say things which cannot be said. He can speak the unspeakable. He can find ways and means and devices to bring you back home, to awake you to your self-nature. Mahakashyapa only realized his own nature. Nothing was given to him. It was only a recognition from the master. The master never gives anything to the disciple except the final recognition. Everything the disciple already has, just he has to be tricked in some way to look into himself. All the meditations are simply arbitrary methods to look into yourself. Once you look into yourself, the Master can give you the recognition. The sutras say everything that has form is an illusion. They also say wherever you are, there is a Buddha, because you are there. There may not be anybody else, but wherever you are, there is a Buddha, because you are a Buddha. Don't look all around, where is the Buddha? Wherever you are, there is a Buddha, because you are there. Your no mind is the Buddha. Don't use a Buddha to worship a Buddha. Hence, Buddha has not taught worshipping, because it is ugly. All are Buddhas. Few are asleep, few are awake, but that does not make much difference. Those who are asleep will become awake. Those who are awake had been asleep. There is no question of worshipping. There is no prayer as such in Buddha's teachings. Even if a Buddha or Bodhisattva should suddenly appear before you, there is no need for reverence. Bodhidharma is saying something that can be misunderstood. In fact, everything that he is saying can be misunderstood. So you have to be very alert not to misunderstand him. To understand him is very difficult. To misunderstand him is very simple. If you can manage not to misunderstand him, there is a possibility for understanding him. When he says there is no need for reverence, the sentence is clear. But it can be easily misunderstood. He is saying there is no need for reverence. He is not saying that there is no possibility of an spontaneous reverence. There is no need. It is not a duty. You are not obliged for revering a Buddha, but your whole being may feel, although there is no need, without any need, you may feel a great reverence, a great gratitude, just for the sake that the Buddha represents your future, reminds you of your self-nature. He is a reminder. He is an arrow pointing towards you. So there is no need for reverence, but there may be a spontaneous feeling for reverence. Even Mahakashyapa touched Gautam Buddha's free. There was no need. Even Bodhidharma, every day, although Buddha has died 1,000 years before, used to bow down in the direction from China towards the place where Buddha has become enlightened, near Bodh Gaya, by the bank of a small river Niranjana. He used to find on the map the place where 1,000 years before Buddha had become enlightened. And he will touch the earth in China with his head, and he is saying there is no need for reverence. Certainly there is no need, but there arises an spontaneous reverence, and that is authentic reverence. When you do it as a need, it is false. When you have to do it because it is expected of you, then it is hypocrisy. But when it has been told to you that there is no need, and still it arises in you, then it has an authenticity, a sincerity, a love, a gratitude, a truth, a beauty of its own. This no mind of ours is empty and contains no such form. Those who hold unto appearances are devils. It has to be told to you that in Buddhism neither God exists nor devil. God and devil can exist only together. They are two sides of the same coin. God cannot do without devil, and devil cannot do without God. They are partners in the same business, but both are hypothetical. So when Bodhidharma uses the word devil, he simply means darkness. It is a personalization of darkness. There is no person as devil. There is no person as God. There is godliness and there is evil. These are qualities, not persons. Those who hold unto appearances are devils. They are living in darkness. They are living a life of evil. They fall from the path. Why worship illusions born of the mind? Those who worship don't know. These are very strong and very pregnant statements. Those who worship don't know. Certainly they are not aware that they are carrying within themselves the Buddha himself. And those who know don't worship. So in the temples, in the synagogues, in the mosques, in the churches, all that worshipping is going on is utterly out of ignorance, out of darkness. Those who know don't worship. They live a life which itself is worship. They don't go to the church, they don't go to the temple. They live a life which is 24 hours nothing but a worship. They live a life which is nothing but a prayerfulness. They live a life of compassion and love and gratitude. Each of their action shows their enlightenment. By worshipping, you come under the spell of devils. I point this out because I am afraid you are unaware of it. The basic nature of a Buddha has no such form. Keep this in mind. Even if something unusual should appear, don't embrace it and don't fear it. And don't doubt that your no mind is basically pure. Where could there be room for any such form? Also, at the appearance of spirits, demons or divine beings, conceive neither respect nor fear, because these are only fantasies of your mind. They are only hallucinations. There are people who see Krishna. There are people who see Christ. There are people who see ghosts. There are people, all kinds of people, seeing all kinds of illusions. They are your mind creations. There is no need either for respect or for fear. Your no mind is basically empty. All appearances are illusions. Don't hold unto appearances. Remember only one thing. Your basic nature is absolute silence, serenity, peace, almost a nothingness, an emptiness. And that is your Buddha nature. That is your nature awakened to its own potential. To be aware of it is the greatest experience of life, because it brings liberation from life, birth, death. It takes you out of the wheel that goes on eternally, giving you birth and death and all the agonies and the sufferings. It takes you out into the world of ecstasy, of eternal blissfulness. These sutras are not just for your entertainment. They are for your enlightenment. And remember, the enlightenment is not going to come from outside. It is already there. Just you have to wake up. You have been asleep for millions of lives. How more do you want to sleep? It is time. In fact, you have already overslept. Now be kind to yourself and wake up.